Hello and welcome to this fourth section of our course. Now in this section we're going to be exploring how to create our backend with Python. Now we've explained what a backend is and what a front end is, and you've understood what a front end does. Now, and I guess you've also understood how the backend works and what its role is in the whole global picture of web applications. Now we want to look deeper into how to actually construct our backend. Now, as you know, we'll be using Python, and as such, we'll want to explore some of the two most popular ways of using Python. That is Python 2 and Python 3. Now, these two versions of the same language are in existence currently and will give you a headache when it comes to choosing one over the other, mainly because one is mainly used and one will be used in the future. So let's get some knowledge on these two. So in this particular video, we're going to explore the differences between the two versions of the Python language, and we're going to also explore the Python language in general. We'll look at why it is increasingly getting popular. Let's talk about Python 2. Now, Python 2 is an older version of Python. It was released in the year 2000, and it is currently named as Python 2.7.x. Now, to be specific, at this current recording of this video, the current version of Python 2.7.x is Python 2.7.14. Now, this version of Python is most used and is most popular because it was released a while ago. Most of the dominant packages and libraries that are out there were written in Python 2.7. So when you have Python 2.7, you're guaranteed that you have the highest support and you have the highest usage for most people. So most of the packages you'd want to use, most of the libraries you'd want to use will already support Python 2, so you won't have to worry about conversions and porting backward compatibility because it's already meant to work with Python 2.7. Now with Python 3, if you write your application or library in Python 2, it's still supported in Python 3 because Python 3 was also written with backward compatibility via the futures import. Now, Python 2, although it's most used and most popular, it's one version of Python that is now being discouraged to be used, and you find that only expert Python users or programmers are using Python 2. If you are starting out in your Python development career, you just want to stick to Python 3 and totally avoid Python 2 because its support will end in the year 2020. Now, at the current time of this video recording, we're still some years before 2020, but if you were watching this video in 2021 or 2020, Python 2 is already removed, support has ended, and you can never really use it and get support for it. There won't be any updates for it. So it's one version of the language the people being encouraged to drop in favor of the newer and most recent version of the language. Now, Python 3, although called the newer version of Python, it's actually looked at and named the future version of Python. Why? Because it's one version of Python that was built with the future of programming in mind. It's one version of Python that is more structured, less script-like, and more of a programming language. It's actually easier and cooler. It has a lot of features that makes life feel so simple than when you're using Python 2. It was actually released in the year 2008, although it's called a newer version, it's actually quite old. So it's released in the year 2008 and is currently named as Python 3.x. Now, at the time of this recording, the latest version of Python 3.x is Python 3.7. Please bear in mind that this X will always increase with years and it will bring in more features, more functionality, and ease of use. Now, Python 3 is now gaining traction as of 2014 going onwards. Python is starting to become a very popular language, largely with most beginners coming to Python, most professionals coming to Python for issues like data analytics, artificial intelligence, with the rise of artificial intelligence, server scripting, networking, etc. So Python is currently gaining traction and is actually becoming one of the large-scale big programming languages in the world today. Now, the Anaconda distribution, which is one channel which is distributing Python 3, has largely popularized Python 3 because the Anaconda distribution is primarily with Python 3. However, you can get a version of Python 2.7 with Anaconda. The Python 3.x1 is more popular. And if you look at anyone with the Anaconda distribution, this is actually the version of Python that they're running. Now, this coincidence allows Python, or this intervention by Anaconda, allows Python 3 to be installed on most people's computers. And as such, most people are actually installing Python via Anaconda because Anaconda provides you with most of the popular languages, and it's a machine learning and data science package. So it includes all those popular libraries that people want to use. So for that ease of use and ease of installation, people are installing Anaconda and as such installing Python 3. Now, what are the main differences between these two versions? Now, there are a lot of differences, but I'll just look at some of the main differences that you should be aware of. The first one is the print function. Now, with Python 2, you never had parentheses whenever you were making a print or we were printing anything. But with Python 3, we've introduced parentheses whenever you're printing. We've also introduced, in Python 2, integer division was never possible. So anytime you would make the divisions, actually there were integer division, and each time you would make a division with float number, that will reside probably in a float result, that result will be executed and presented to you in an integer format. So 3 divided by 2 would actually give you a 1 instead of a 1.5. It's actually a 2. So you have to be aware of that. And to counter for that, people using Python 2 have to cast using the float command to be able to print out or divide integers while still getting float results. Python 3 automatically handles that. Now, the input function has also changed. With the input function in Python 2, it used to accept any type. So with Python 2, you take integers, floats, strings, etc. It wasn't that standard when it comes to what output to expect or what type you get whenever you type in anything using the input function. However, with Python 3, all input has been stuck and set to strings. So whatever input you're going to type into the input function, it will be stored as a string. Then lastly, I'll just talk about bankers rounding, which is something that most people don't take notice of. In Python 2, all numbers or decimals were rounded whenever we had a tie, that is, whenever we had a 0.5. All decimals were rounded to the next number. That's normally how we round figures. But then with Python 3, whenever we approach or whenever we have a 0.5 in our decimal, all numbers are rounded to the next or the nearest. It's actually the nearest even number. So if it's a figure like 16.5, Python 2 would give you 17, but Python 3 will give you 16. So that's one of the major difference that I think is very important for you to note, because you have problems with it, especially if you're going to be working with floating numbers and rounding a lot. So that's mainly what we had to talk about. There's still a lot more you can learn about Python. We'll link in some links in the descriptions so that you can always reference and just read for your own. But then that's the main stuff that you need to know when it comes to the difference between the two languages.